Well, thank you guys all for being here. I'm going to just take a couple seconds to introduce myself because I do see some new faces. My name is Richard Bridges. I'm the Director of Agent Services here at Samson Properties. That's a fancy title for pretty much work on a lot of stuff that's agent-facing, right? A lot of support things, whether it's training, our new coaching program we're going to be rolling out, lots of details on that upcoming soon. Helping out with some of these workshops and agent services as well. Bethany's in here as well, I see, so she kind of runs things over there. But I've figured out a way to get myself into all kinds of different things, and I like to keep busy, so that's fun. But this is something, prior to coming to Samson, I had my own coaching business. I worked with a lot of agents, from brand new baby agents all the way up to some very large, successful teams. We're talking 20, 30 agents, hundreds of millions of dollars in volume each year. And this particular topic is something that I saw the best of the best adopt in their business, and they made it a daily activity, right? So when you think of video CMA, there's a few things I think that come to mind, right? There's probably some reluctance. Hey, I don't want to be on video. Also, CMAs, why am I doing a CMA? How do the two tie together? Really, I want you to think of this workshop as it's going to be a prospecting activity, right? It's going to be something that you can do to grow your business, right? Who here likes to make money? Boom. You can go home. You can go right home. You get out of here. You don't like making money? All right, I'm just kidding. But we're going to have fun today. Like we said at the beginning, if you guys have questions, raise your hand. We'll wait for the mic. But I do want to make it somewhat interactive because this is a lot, right? I'm going to show you probably I'm going to show you more than you actually need to use so that you have options on how you want to do this, right? We all do things a little bit differently. Right? It's the same business, we do the same kind of transaction process, but how we go about doing it's a little bit different. So I want you to feel like you can make this process unique to you, because what you're going to get to do in this is you're going to get to showcase your skills, right? Who here has heard skills pay the bills? No? Well, you can use it. You can use it. I didn't make it up. I heard it from someone else. I don't know who it was, but they get credit. Skills pay the bills, and I think that's more so now in this market than even in the last 3 to 5 years, because people are more selective. If they're making a move and selling a home, there are probably some reluctance about giving up that juicy interest rate that they got to move into a much bigger interest rate and pay a lot more for their home. So there's a compelling reason to move, and they want to make sure the person who's going to help them is going to get them as much money as possible for their home, and this is an opportunity for you to demonstrate exactly how you're going to do that. So top teams are doing this across the country. I've seen multiple Inman articles, other outlets out there that write about real estate topics specifically that go over this topic and how you can leverage it in your business. So without further delays, let's jump right into it. Got to shout out Dave Warfel. He's in the audience today. He's our Director of Brokerage Services. He's also a Tom Ferry coach, and this is something that he coaches on with his agents as well. And he actually told me the other day, one of the things that how they refer to this is it's called an equity review, right? So I really like that term because that's really what you're doing. You're demonstrating to a prospective seller, past client, whoever, what they could potentially expect to sell their home for and walk away with at the settlement table, right? What's going to be their cash in pocket to do that. Now let me ask you guys, has anyone in here done a video CMA before? Dave has, no shocker there. Anybody else? All right, has anybody in here done a CMA before? All right, okay, so most of us have done a CMA before. Comparative market analysis, right? We're doing our best to analyze the market comparables, the economics of one particular home to give someone an idea of what they can sell their home for. Adding the video component is us basically doing that in a controlled environment, right? Like today, this is great. This isn't streamed live because if I make a big boo-boo, Justin's going to make me look like a rock star. He's just going to go, nope, that was bad, Richard. We're going to throw that away and we're going to make better, Richard. Stitch it together, and that's great. You get the opportunity to do the same thing with something like this. So it's pretty cool. How are you guys feeling about it though, right? Like when you hear the term video CMA, tell me what kind of comes to mind. How are you feeling about potentially doing something like this in your business? What do you think? Yes, ma'am.
I feel innovative and creative.
That's right. You know what? I think your clients will think it's innovative and creative too. That's a pretty good thing. What do you think?
It sounds like I'm going to have to do a lot of work.
A lot of work.
Yeah. For
guys
each
afraid of
property gets a CMA. Everyone asks, what's my home worth? And then you're on there for digitally editing yourself. I don't know.
Well, it doesn't have to be as complicated as you think. I'm going to show you guys some tricks and tips today. We're going to try and keep it concise and to the point because realistically, how much time do you think you get to demonstrate what someone's home is worth in the form of a video? And what I mean by that, to take a step further, is how much time do you think a client or a prospective client or a customer will give to your video? How much time do you think? Maybe 30 seconds. Maybe a little bit more if it's something that they truly see of value, right? I think everyone here can probably agree most homeowners would love to know how much money they're sitting on in their property at any given time. So typically the statistics show you've got a little bit more than 30 seconds, but there's got to be value. If you're sitting up there and it's like your home value at 123 Main Street is probably, they're gone. They're out. They're not watching that video. So there's got to be some value. There's got to be some kind of bells and whistles and things like that. I'm going to show you how to do it without it being complicated for you. All right? So that's what we're going to be looking at today. So as we go through these slides, I don't want to slide anyone to death, right? That's not what I want to do. I want to make this somewhat interactive. So we're actually going to show you an example of what this will look like. But first, I'm going to kind of go through a few slides to give you the details so you can take notes, focus on that, and then you can watch. And we're going to watch together, and we're going to do like what ESPN does, analyzing Monday Night Football, and we're going to sit there and we're going to be like, all right, so what's going on here? What's happening in the screen? Why is this important? Why is what was said something that we should try to include? Or what's the value here in what we're presenting, okay? So that's what we're going to do. So right now, let's just focus on how we can use it, what's the process we can go about, and what systems and tools, realistically, we're going to need in order to be able to do this, all right? So first, let me tell you, number one, the best uses for a video CMA. What ways can we use it? I think if you can unlock in your mind all of the potential for a video CMA, it's going to really help you in knowing how can I adopt this and create a consistent daily habit to grow my business. All right, so number one, expired withdrawn prospecting. Who in here loves to pick up the phone and cold call expired and withdrawn clients, customers? No? Cool. We're all on the same page. I hate that. All right. That doesn't mean it doesn't work, right? That's not a knock on it for you guys at home watching this later. If you do that, you know what? High five. Boom. You get a high five from Richard virtually because I'm impressed. I'm just too scared, right? It's scary. People will be mean to me. I have really I'm an emotional guy. I'm tender-hearted. I don't want anyone to be mean to me. But I can do this all day, every day, right? So if you're thinking, hey, I'm in my neighborhood, you see that dreaded sign pop up while you're driving home one day, you're like, oh, missed that opportunity. 60, 90, 120 days later, that sign that property didn't sell. Never saw a sold sign on it. You get in the MLS and you look and you're like, oh, it expired or it was withdrawn. More specifically, it was canceled, so there's no agreement in place anymore. And you go, they were overpriced the whole time. This would be the perfect person to send a video CMA to. It'd be the perfect opportunity for you to reach out and go, hey, listen, here's some thoughts, right? Whether you're thinking about selling again or not, what I want to do is I want to just give you a second opinion free of charge and show you some of the things that I observed, being both a neighbor in your neighborhood and someone who also sells real estate. Here's some thoughts that I have on your pricing, how you went about marketing it, and you can pull up their listing and literally analyze it play-by-play for them. Do you think that would be of value to them? Probably. It may hurt their feelings a little bit. They might feel a little way because they just unsuccessfully sold their home and dealt with all the stress of showings and being unsuccessful and getting the price that they wanted for their home. But it is a way for you to demonstrate value in a controlled setting, right? So that's a great way. I had a gal who was on the team that I was on before. We started adopting this process. We did a CMA a day, right? That was kind of our challenge. You do a CMA a day every day, and that was a video CMA, right? That was the thing. 5 a week. Monday through Friday, you find one person, you have an excuse, you send it out to them. Amanda, her very first one was in her farm on an expired listing. She sent this video CMA over to them. She followed this playbook exactly, and she got a listing appointment. She listed and sold that home. Very first one. So it works, all right? Number 2, for sale by owner prospecting. Same thing. You now have somebody who's online trying to sell their home themselves, so you know what? What do you know definitively about that person? They want to sell their house. Would they be a good person to send this to? Probably. They'd be curious, because what did you just do for them? You just did the hard part, because what do FSBOs not know how to do? Price their homes, right? CMAs, exactly. So FSBOs are great. What happens if you have a seller and they're on the market more than a week, more than 2 weeks? Could you use this as a way to update them every week? Now let me tell you about that. What's great about this is I have found when you have a listing and you're proactive about sending them video updates or updates that you control, you've just avoided the 1 to 2 hour conversation you're going to have on the phone every week trying to explain to them what you're doing. You just spent 10 minutes showing them exactly what you're going to do, and you avoided a phone call, which allows you to go do what? Go send some more video CMAs, right? Because you're not on the phone explaining to your seller why they shouldn't fire you. Got it? So there's some benefit there as well. I love being in control. I love being proactive on that. Out of area sellers, right? We do a lot of trainings on absentee owners. You see an absentee owner in there. Absentee owner is somebody who owns a property. They don't live there, so it's a rental typically. You find that rental property, you see that it's been rented recently, or maybe it rented 10 months ago, and you're like, they probably have a 12-month lease. I should send them a video CMA, let them know how their property value is compared to last year, and see if they might want to unload that property. Being a property manager can be tough at times, right? Would you agree? I would. I just got a lease sign on a property. I had to pay a month's mortgage with no tenant in the property on top of $10,000 in repairs. Let me tell you, wasn't a fan. So that's a great way for you to go ahead and prospect to absentee owners, folks who might go, you know what, I like money. Let me get the money instead of dealing with the headaches. Cool? Farming, farm prospecting. Who here has done anything with predictive analytics? What is predictive analytics? All right, so has anyone in here seen a site where it says this person is likely, not likely, very likely to sell their home? That's predictive analytics. So if you went into a system like Remine, we'll look at Remine in a few minutes. For those of you who don't know, Remine is still accessible. I don't know how, I don't know why, but if you have the link, you can go and use it, and it's great. Remine has predictive analytics, which will give a seller score. And if you go through your farm and pull every person that has a very likely to sell seller score, what do you think you could do with that? Hint, hint, we're doing a class on it. Video CMA. Perfect, right? Because for some reason, that algorithm has information that you don't have that's saying that they're likely to move. Whether they're in a large equity position, they've owned the home for 7 to 10 years, maybe there was a divorce filing, and they see that in the public record that you didn't know to check, and they know, oh, divorces typically means property sell. You use that insight to go out there and prospect. Cool, right? Awesome. How about, sorry, I just touched my thing. Oop, that was weird. How about past clients, right? We're talking about getting new clients. What about past clients, right? I tell you what my favorite video CMA in the world to do is. Somebody bought a home 2 to 3 years ago. On their home purchase anniversary, I send them a video, and I do the video, and I go through and I say, congratulations, you have $250,000 more in equity on your home. You're welcome. You're welcome. You can send flowers to 12550 Cavalier Drive, whatever it is, right? That's a great, great feeling. So again, you can reach out, add value, and then because you did something that really benefited them, you now have gotten permission to make an ask. Hey, oh, by the way, if you know anyone else who'd like to make $250,000 in equity on their home, I'd love to meet them. Keep me in mind. It's not an unreasonable ask. So this is a great tool for people you already know. And then seller lead follow-up. If we're prospecting online, you know, we're generating Google pay-per-click leads. Maybe we got a Zillow lead off of our profile that's thinking about selling their home. To initially meet with them, before you even do that, you can get your face in front of them, demonstrate your value, and soft close before you ever even get to the seller's table, right? So leads are great as well. It's a great way to respond. What else can you guys think of? Is there any other way you think you could utilize a video CMA? What do you think? While you do that, I'm going to shrink real quick. What do you think? Anything else? Creative? You guys are going to make this super easy on me today, aren't you? All right, that's all right. I just did such a good job that there are no other answers, right? So that's what I'm going to take this as, is just that I'm just a fantastic teacher. All right, so moving right along. Any questions on that, on any of those ways that you can use this functionally in your business to prospect? Yes, sir.
Deliver the CMA to.
Oh, we're going to talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. There's a number of different delivery methods, but we're going to talk about exactly that in just a minute. Cool. All right, so segueing nicely, what systems will you need in order to do a video CMA? Zoom, Google Hangouts, Microsoft Teams, ScreenPal is a free downloadable screen recording software that you can download online. If you have BombBomb, you can use BombBomb. Any of those, including the embedded screen recording, I just found out about Xbox screen recording. Bethany and Melissa showed that to us, to the agent services group the other day, about how to make screen recordings. There are tons of free resources out there that you can use that have picture-in-picture screen recording functionality, right? So this isn't a class on the screen recording, but those are all different tools. I probably imagine everyone in this room has been on a virtual meeting at some point, so you know the capability that you can have a picture, you can screen record and screen share all at the same time using some sort of free tool. You know, if you are like, hey, I know Zoom really well because I've used Zoom a bunch of times, the Zoom free account, you get 40 minutes. Trust me, do not send a 40-minute video CMA to your client. You don't need 40 minutes. You need 5 to 10 minutes, tops, okay? So you can use that free tool, or Google Hangouts, or any of these other ones, all right? So that's how you're ultimately going to facilitate the recording of your video CMA. The next thing you're going to want to use, these are kind of pro tips now, is you're going to want to get in and utilize the AVMs that are out there. Who's familiar with what an AVM is? Who knows what an AVM is? What is it, AVM? Oh, we got a voice over here. We got to give her a microphone.
Automated valuation model.
That's correct. Automation, valuation, model, or metric, right? What's an AVM? Give me an example of an AVM.
Zillow.
Zillow, right? What can Zillow do for a homeowner?
Nothing.
That is what I'm talking about. They can do nothing. But if we're going to give them an ounce of credit, what do they try to do?
They provide a very easy interface and that god-awful Zestimate.
They give a Zestimate. Everybody familiar with a Zestimate, right? There are people out there that is from the Lord's mouth, okay? That is what their home is worth, all right? But is that in fact what the home is worth? But if they think it is, do you think it's important to reference that in your video CMA? I would agree. So that is an AVM. I always say include 4 to 5 of those to show them, to give them a baseline sample. Why? Why do you think I want to be that transparent? Some of us might go, don't show them the Zestimate. Why do I recommend showing them those automated valuation models? You just nailed it. Say it again. Say it again. That's super important. Why? Say it one more time.
Create your value.
Create your value. How do you do that? What do you think? You're providing information, but specifically if the Zestimate is wrong, what did you just do? You just showed them the value of you. That's why we're going to show it to them. Guys, I'll tell you, more often than wrong, those AVMs are wrong. They're wrong. Especially if you take a bunch of them and average them out. I'm going to show you how to do that in a few minutes. It's pretty straightforward. It's not complicated, but it will really make you look like a rock star. I'm going to blow you away in a couple minutes with what that looks like. So some of the AVMs that I would recommend doing, RPR. Everybody familiar with RPR? That's the National Association RPR. It's funny because RPR, because they're the realtor's resource, they won't be an AVM. They're an RVM because they're the realtor valuation model. They don't want to be associated with an AVM. Good for them. Then you have Zillow, Redfin. It's another real estate brokerage. Here's reality, guys. People are going on Redfin looking at what their home is worth. So we got to take a look at it. Remine. I'll show you how to get to Remine. That's free. Black Knight is another assessment tool. You can go to the Black Knight website. And then Smart Charts, and there's some other resources as well. So ePraisal's another one. I'll show you guys in a few minutes. But those are all AVMs that you can go to, and it will give a specific number for their property. Some other resources and tools that I would recommend. You had asked earlier, how do we deliver this to them, right? Email's probably easiest, but if you don't have an email, you could send it via text message if it's a small enough file. You could upload it to YouTube and send the video link to YouTube to them. And if it's, depending if it's iMessage or an Android, it could just pop up as the video, right? When I get it on an iMessage and I send a YouTube link, it'll show a little preview thumbnail. So I'll know it's not like gonna give my phone a virus, right? Because that you don't want to do. So there's some cool ways that you can do that. But forewarn, just for those of us who are NVAR members, forewarn is a free resource that is outstanding. You can put anyone's phone. We were actually messing around with it yesterday. We were looking at all of our, all the people who have had tough lives in our brokerage. Just kidding. You go in, you put someone's phone number in there, and it shows all their information, like where they live. I don't think it shows their email. I don't think it has their email, but it'll show like if they're married. It shows their criminal record, all that stuff. So forewarn is great just in lead generation in general. If a lead comes in and you're going to go out and show them a property, I would definitely put their phone number in forewarn and see what pops up. Because if nothing pops up, that's telling me that is not a legitimate phone number, and that's probably a red flag in and of itself. But if something pops up, I can also go through and be like, oh, okay, cool. No, I know a decent amount about this person. And then the other side is Ben Verified. That's not free. You pay for it. But Ben Verified is one of many like scrubbing tools that can go through and pull information like email addresses for someone if you have a name or address or a phone number. So that's another way that you can get information if you're looking more to use video CMAs as a cold prospecting tool. Cold prospecting meaning you're sending it to someone you don't already know. Got it? CRM. We all probably know what a CRM is. We have KV Core here. Might be getting some other ones here in the very near future, but I would highly recommend creating a custom drip. Drip meaning something that automatically follows up, whether it be by text or email, with somebody that you interact with. So if I send a video CMA to somebody, I'm going to tag them in my CRM that they got one, and then I'm going to create a drip that every few days, weeks, months, they're going to get a follow-up email. So if I forget to do it, it's getting done anyways. So it'll help you with the conversion, right? It's not always about the first thing you do, because they typically say for someone who's a cold contact, it can take 12 to 13 touches before you actually convert. So try to have a drip plan that's going to support you in getting to 12 to 13 touches. Make sense? All right. You guys with me? Yeah. Pulse check? Everyone's alive. Good. I was worried for a second. Number 5, HomeBot. Anybody familiar with HomeBot? HomeBot's a pretty cool tool. It's an AI system. It's come out fairly recently. I'd say within like the last 12 months, it's really taken on. It is a paid-for service. With your lender partner, they can actually go in with you and help subsidize a portion of it. Comes out to be about $25 a month, I believe, for up to 100 or 200 contacts. But they send a monthly email updated valuation, and it's pretty accurate. It's a really cool interface. It's probably more accurate than most of the AVMs out there because of how it data scrapes and provides the information to the client. So if I was sending this out, and I had an email, I would be registering that person in a system like HomeBot, which is going to continue to let them know those property values. You hear Donnie talk about it in his Lunch and Learns, those market snapshots. It's essentially like a high-end AI market snapshot system. It's pretty cool. If you don't have the budget for it, you can use other resources like Real Scout. We have Real Scout. Everybody in this room has access to Real Scout at no additional cost. You can send market snapshots through Real Scout as well. And we'll look at that shortly. And then last but not least, if you're doing lead gen, Facebook leads or social media leads, Google Pay Per Click, and like YouTube or any other specific lead generation sites, those are all great resources to get contact information, specifically emails, where you can also send video CMAs to those prospects as well. Cool? Questions? All right, we're moving right along. Boom. All right, so we talked about the AVMs. Now let's talk about how we're going to actually functionally do this video CMA, all right? So what I like to do, and you'll see in the video we show in a minute, I like to start with Google Earth because it's pretty cool. Because if you go into Google Earth and you click the search bar at the top left corner, you can put in the property address and it will come from a satellite down to their home. Like it'll be like down into the home. That's the sound it makes. Down to the home. And then it's pretty cool. Like, so if I'm there and I'm like, here we go, here's your house, and it like flies down, lands in front of their home. If they're like on a kind of a street where like the little Google car has gone by, like it's been recorded, you can take the little person at the bottom and drop it on the screen, and it can go to a street view, and you can actually look at the home. You'll see it on the video I do in a minute. It's pretty neat. So just right there, you're gonna look like Elon Musk, I promise, okay? So basically, Elon Musk just did their video CMA, and that's pretty cool. So Google Earth, great feature. You can also then jump around and note key amenities, right? If I'm coming in, I'm flying in from a satellite, what are some things I can see as I'm coming into the community to see the home? What do you think? You can see a swimming pool. Oh, you got the community pool behind your house? Jealous, right? Like, and you go right in and you can show those features, right? So we try to make it fun. You get to show your personality in this, right? Because realistically, this is somewhat like a job interview, right? When you go in here. So you get to control the whole narrative. So if you're fun and exciting like me, just kidding, you can do stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. Google Earth makes you look like a rock star. You can feature those community amenities. Additionally, you should have all of the tabs up of what you're going to be referencing, right? So if you're going to be RPR and Redfin and Zillow and you want to use Smart Charts. Smart Charts is a paid add-on to Bright MLS, but it is very like user-friendly data for market conditions for subdivisions and zip codes, and you can do all kinds of searching. I'll show you what that looks like shortly, but it's cool to reference if you use the Smart Charts link that's embedded within Bright. And then, like I was mentioning, the other AVMs on the site, I also have a Google spreadsheet up, which averages out the AVMs. So it shows like, all right, if I add up and divide by however many AVMs it is, here's the average pricing of the AVM. And then on that sheet, I show them my pricing range. And then under that, I show them what is the actual difference between what I think the value might be, what the AVMs say it is, and then I show them specifically how much money, like what is the actual value of hiring a realtor. So going back to what this gentleman said earlier, you get to demonstrate your value, not just in your skills and capabilities, but in the money that they would earn by hiring you. That's a pretty cool, powerful feature. So I'll show that to you guys exactly how I do it. It's very simple in a few minutes. This is, again, some of the AVMs we talked about earlier. And it is a great opportunity as you go through the AVMs. I kind of play a little dumb. I'll be like, oh, Zillow said it was like 600,000 and then Redfin said 580? Are they not talking to each other? Like, I will blow their spot up. Like, I have no problem like feigning ignorance and then making sure that it's showing this data can't be trusted, right? I am fully about undermining the value of AVMs, right? Because then that is directly supporting the value that I provide as a real estate agent. Cool? What questions do we have? Dude, you guys are doing so good. I'm just being honest with you. You guys are doing really good. At home, you guys are doing even better. All right, cool. So I think you guys are almost ready to watch this video. Additionally, one of the things I do try to show, who in here is familiar with an absorption rate? What is the absorption rate? Anybody familiar with what the absorption rate is or what that means, the ratio? Over here, we gotta give her a microphone. She's jumping at the opportunity.
It's been a while, but it has to do with short sales a lot, and it's how quickly houses are purchased out in the market, the houses that are on the market.
You say it has to do with short sales?
Well, that's no.
Not short sales.
It
has to do with all the sales.
All the sales.
Yep.
All the sales. How many houses on the market? How quickly they will sell.
Exactly. That's a perfect explanation. It is the number in a time frame. It's the number of homes that have sold in a geographic area, subdivision, whatever sample you want to use, have sold by the amount that are on the market. Because if you know that number, you can essentially give an idea of how long, on average, it's going to take. Now, we can also average out days on market, but the absorption rate calculator is the things that they use on a more broad basis when you're trying to get an idea. Like if you take 10,000 sales and you do an absorption, and you try to do an average of days on market, that's going to be super misleading, right? Because if you have condos and townhouses and single families, those all have tons of variables within them. But an absorption rate will give a much better idea over a large area how long on average it's going to take for a home to move. within a geographic area over a certain amount of time, right? So I think it's a great idea to have up the absorption rate calculator. If you have smart charts will actually show that for you within the area, so that's pretty cool, and I'll show you that in a few minutes. But I think that that's something that's a good resource to give them an idea of how strong the market is right then and there. So absorption rate calculator is a great resource to use. I would also recommend you've done the CMA prior to recording the video. I know that sounds maybe intuitive, but if you try to do it while you're talking to the client, you could really kind of jumble things up and not have an intentional plan of where you're going. So I would definitely say run the comps in Bright, have the listings you're going to reference, whatever view you're going to use. If you have some sort of system like Cloud CMA, which is like a data aggregator, but that makes the presentation look pretty, you can use that as well to download those listings. You can export into that system or import into that system, and then it's just a little bit prettier. So you can absolutely do that, or you can just use Bright. I used Bright because I didn't want you guys to think that you needed to pay for another system like Cloud CMA, when in reality you don't. So that's something that's important. You have those software systems if you want it to get kind of a little prettied up. And then typically what I'll do is I'll download those listings, or I'll put them in print or print preview mode so that you can see what I'm referencing, and I can actually show as I'm going through to the seller what comps I used to support the pricing that I'm ultimately going to conclude. And then we're going to make sure we're adjusting the pricing. When you're doing that, I think a great call to action, because most of the time you're doing these, you probably don't know what features are in the home. If it's a past client, you sold them the home, you probably do, so you don't have to necessarily do it. The call to action on a past client where you know the home is, if you found this valuable, I'd love to do it for someone you know, right? That's the call to action for me on a past. But if this is a prospect, a cold client, the call to action is getting them to provide you with more features because you haven't seen the home. It's hard to give an exact price if we don't know condition. Condition is one of the variables we use to determine price. So by doing this, the call to action can be, and if you can tell me what features, upgrades, modifications you've made to the home, I can give you a better, more accurate pricing number. Okay? So that's a way that you can start that dialogue and get a response from them. Helps you fine-tune the estimate. Make sense? Let's see. All right, let's go ahead and actually take a look at the video. Let's run through the video. Let's pull that up here. And then we'll kind of run through it, give you guys an idea. Questions so far? Does that fairly make sense? Kind of registering on the process a little bit? All right. More or less intimidating than you thought? Less? About the same? Same? All right, that's okay. Well, maybe after you watch this, you might feel a little differently. So let's pull that up. And as you can see, we have a picture-in-picture. I recorded this the other day. Did for property. Now, if you notice, it's 13, almost 14 minutes long. Too long. I'm going to tell you that right up front. I did a lot more things in this video to demonstrate to you guys all the things you can do. I think the sweet spot's like 5 to 7 minutes, if I had to be honest. At 5 to 7 minutes, I was seeing about 80 to 90% full watch through. That was the number. So when I would send this to somebody, 5 to 7 minutes, 80 to 90% of them watched the entire thing. You get over 7 minutes, that number starts to go down because it is a lot, right? You got to get to the punchline. So let's go ahead, we'll start. And then as we go through, if you have questions, raise your hand. I'll try to pause to point out a couple notable things, reference kind of what we went over in the slides, but let's let Richard show us what
Mr.
it
and
looks
Mrs.
like.
Buffetti. My name is Richard Bridges with Samson Properties. And as we've been kind of discussing on the phone a little bit about the potential sale of your home at 12550 Cavalier Drive in Woodbridge, Virginia, I wanted to take a couple minutes to share a quick video with you about how I arrived at some of the numbers. I haven't yet seen your home, so some of these details will be dependent on condition and final walkthrough of your property, but I at least wanted to give you some information to mull over ahead of our meeting next week. So without further ado, if you'll follow along here, you'll see my picture up in the top right corner, and then if you follow my screen here, we'll take a peek at your property here at 12550 Cavalier Drive. And here is our home. So we'll go ahead and we'll scoot in a little bit to take a peek. And you know what? Let's take a little street view just to see where we're at. I like that these are all very heavily wooded lots. Established neighborhood here. Take a look at some of the neighbors around. Got a big extension here on the corner lot. Looks like a thoroughfare road. And your property. Nice long driveway. Looks like the roof's been replaced in the not so distant past. That's great. We'll take a peek out this way as well. Awesome, awesome. So it looks like we've got some street parking as well, and almost a half-acre lot here on your property. Well, the first thing I like to do is, because I'm sure like most homeowners, you've gone online and you've looked at a...
So kind of cool, right? You get to come right into the property, you type it in, it goes right to it. I went down, I grabbed this little fella here, and then we drop it right in front of the house. And as long as it has the ability to do that, like it's been recorded, since this is kind of a busier road, they've been by it with the Google car. You know, we drop it in, and then we can go and we can take a real-time look, kind of not real-time, but we can see their property. It's been in the not-so-distant past that this was taken. So we can kind of get a little bit better of an idea on what the property looks like. And as you notice, I tried to draw attention to its heavily wooded lots. You know, I probably would have pointed out, I like the porch. It looks like it wraps around. The roof being replaced. Again, I'm demonstrating that I've looked in the property. I'm more than just, hey, I just pulled this up online and looked at it. I've taken some time to do some research, right? So I'm already trying to build that I know what I'm talking about, right? I'm developing my brand as a specialist, as a professional in their eyes. So that's what we're doing. We're kind of just laying the groundwork. And as you can see along the top, I have all of those tabs that if I want to reference, I can. And you'll see shortly, that's what I will do. So, all right, let's keep going.
A lot of the different websites out there, let's say Redfin, Zillow, to name a few. I've got 4 or 5 here that I want to show you that have actually got specific values they've assigned to your home using a process called an AVM. We call these AVM sites, which is an automated valuation metric, right? So they basically use an algorithm to crunch numbers, and they're each proprietary, so I don't know how they all work. That's way above my pay grade. But they spit out a number, and what I'm going to do is we're going to take all of those, consider them, and then we're going to look at the actual comparables in this video to show you how accurate or inaccurate they may be. So let's jump into the most popular of which is Zillow.com. So if we come in, I've already taken the liberty of scooting in on this site here. Let me go back to where I just was. So if we drop in and we type in your property address, 12550 Cavalier, if I can spell today, Cavalier Drive, Woodbridge, Virginia. There it is. It drops right in. And we can see as I'll move my big face over to the other side. It is off market. Your home's not on the market, of course. That's why we're having a conversation. We've got some details about the home: 4 bedrooms, 3 baths. I saw on your tax records there's an additional half bath. But we're getting some estimates here. A Zestimate of $657,600. All right. So that's where the Zestimate is. You can also see that it gives a range. It could be as low as 618 or as high as 690. That's a pretty big spread. So we're hoping to lock in on a more specific pricing. And it also shows you the last 30 days how your pricing has fared. So it looks like the market is trending favorable for you. We'll go over to Redfin. We can see on Redfin, interestingly, Redfin's pricing is not nearly as bold, dare I say, as Zillow. So $597,814. It looks like maybe some of the information is incorrect because it's missing an entire full bathroom here. So maybe Redfin site hasn't updated the public record information. Not exactly sure, but that might be what's impacting your pricing here at $597. You can see it's pulling from old listing data. So there's our details, $597,814 for Redfin. So what we've got $657, we've got $597.
Would definitely tell you not to go super hard, right? I was fairly light, like I was drawing some inconsistencies here. You know, the pricing, why is there such a disparity between Zillow and Redfin? So I'm already calling into question, one, the viability of the AVMs, right? How well they work. The fact that Redfin is so much lower, that's great for me, right? Because it's now showing a competitor. This is their system. They probably use that as part of their pricing model and plan, right? So that's a big, big disparity. And then the other thing is I'm calling in that the information on their site isn't 100% accurate, right? We saw 4.3 on the Zillow. We see 4.2.5 on Redfin. So those are important things you want to make note of as you're going through. But what I don't do is I go, Redfin's terrible, you can't trust them, don't ever go to the site again, right? Because they're going to keep doing it. They got a good interface. People are going to go and check it out. But at the same time, I will show them, let them make their own assumptions as to why the information may or may not be accurate. Cool.
Realtor.com say, let's take a look. Realtor 642-600. Interesting. Now, they do have their information correctly, thank God, because they're representing all realtors out there. But 642-600, that is our, actually, that's our open door estimate. So I guess what we're doing now within...
So I should have read ahead of time. Realtor doesn't even give a value anymore. They have basically punted on, I got to do the punt. Sorry. They punted, there's my punt, sorry, that took a long time. They punted to Open Door. Everybody familiar with Open Door? Open Door is an iBuyer. iBuyer, they're the ones that basically you can go online, get an offer on your home anytime. They buy it and then they turn it back on the market and they try to sell it and make a profit on it, right? So those are what iBuyers are. So Realtor doesn't even give a value anymore for an off-market property. They're basically kicking it over to the iBuyer Open Door, and that's essentially what Open Door is saying they'd buy your home for. So another noteworthy thing here to make sure that you're drawing attention to, if I had known ahead of time, I probably wouldn't have been like, oh, this is a Realtor's price and made that the whole fuss. But just interesting, like I kind of learned that as I was going through that. So lesson learned, right? All right.
Realtor is they're providing you an estimate from opendoor.com, essentially what they would estimate the value for your home to be. And then let's take a look at Remind. This is another great resource that realtors have. It's got a lot of information, pulls of public information. We're seeing we have a value here of $637,933. However, also missing a full bath. So that full bath we're seeing now from $597 to $637, a huge jump in pricing just for one full bath. And I hope you're starting to get the idea here that there is no perfect algorithm out there. It really does take a person to look at the condition, go in, assess what the other homes are there for, and someone who really has a lot of market information. So I grew up on Cavalier Drive, so I'm very familiar with where this property is, lived there for 19 years. So I know all of these homes, and so when we look at the comparables here in a minute, you'll be able to see some good information here. Now, interestingly, this is RPR. RPR is our Realtor Property Resource. It's kind of the system that the National Association of Realtors gives us. It shows us when you bought this home back in 2019 for $465, their realtor valuation metric, they don't want to be associated with just an automated valuation metric. They want to be a realtor valuation metric, but it's still automated. They're saying that your value is $666,730. So we've got a whole range here, right? We've got $597 all the way up to, I think one of them was as high as $670, if I'm remembering correctly. But you've got the information here. You can see, and if you go to any of these sites except for the RPR and the Remind site, you'll be able to see those valuations. Now, that being said, let's go ahead and look at your public record. So I went ahead and pulled together the actual information that the county is assessing taxes for your property.
I always want to start on the public record because this is where I'm basically verifying the information before I ever get into the comparables. So what you're going to notice is I'm going to show the difference between this and why some of the information on those AVMs was different or missing. And you'll see as I go through, the big things I'm trying to draw attention to are those main considerations in your normal CMA, like lot size, above grade finished square footage, if there's been any modifications to, if there was an unfinished basement, if there now is a finished basement, if they've added bathrooms, bedrooms, all that jazz, all right? So that's essentially where I'm going with this. And then from there, I'll work over into the actual comparables. So back to it.
So 12550 Cavalier Drive. We'll go down. I'm going to draw your attention to a couple features here. The acreage for your home is 0.4591 acres, or that's 19,998 square feet. Oh my gosh, 2 extra square feet. Could have been around 20,000. That's my OCD for you. But we can also see the total square footage of the home at 3,644. But what's important here is we look at the above grade square footage. That is how much footprint your home has. So 2,340 above grade square footage does not include below grade. Why do I do that? Well, appraisers who typically financing is involved. Normally people are buying a home with a mortgage. You guys bought your home with a mortgage. There was an appraisal done, and the way that appraisers determine value on your home is you have an above grade square footage price and you have a below grade square footage price, and they're not the same. Above grade square footage is more valuable than below grade. So it is important to understand how much is above the ground and how much is buried in the ground or considered below grade. So you can see 984 below grade finish. That tells me you have a finished basement, which is interesting because you didn't have a finished basement when you bought this home. So congratulations on finishing that home. I can also see
quick
that
pause.
this is where the confusion.
That's a super important feature. If you can deduce without ever having seen this home, now I lived there and we didn't ever have a finished basement, so I know having a finished basement jumped out at me. But in this situation, if I went back and looked at the previous listing and I saw no finished basement, and then all of a sudden the public record now is showing that they did have a finished basement, there's below grade square footage, that is a great way for you to really demonstrate your skill as an agent, for them to go, how would they know? He's never even been in the house, right? So that's an impressive element to make sure you're including in your presentation. So I just wanted to draw your attention to that.
Fusion came in. Some of those systems were pulling the finished basement and were giving you that extra 984 square feet plus that extra full bath. Some weren't. Some were still pulling from when you only had 2.5 bathrooms and no finished basement. So I show you all of that because this is the information that I'm going to mainly be using when doing your comparables. So now let's jump over into my system. This is the system all realtors have access to here, Bright MLS, which is our multiple listing service. So this is the search criteria I've used: your subdivision, Lake Ridge, your zip code, 22192, the statuses of the properties, coming soon, active, active under contract, pending, and closed in the last 6 months. We see detached properties and above grade square footage 2,100 to 2,400. If you know Lake Ridge at all, you probably do because you live there. Lake Ridge is like over 10,000 homes. It's huge, all different kinds of styles. So we have to narrow the subdivision down to get a little bit more specific. And by doing that, we've actually limited down our comparables to 12 matches. That's a good sample size. So let's take a look at what that shows us. So we'll click on our results here. And let's look at what your neighbors got. I'll move me back over here so it's easy to see. So we got a home over here on Point Long Street. What's interesting is just looking at it right out the gate, I can tell that this property is a completely different style home. So probably not a great comp, but still similar in the above grade. It's active for $569. Probably still factoring into your pricing based on those AVMs though, because it falls in the age, the subdivision, all that jazz. We have another home here, active under contract. So there's only one listing that matched those criteria that's even on the market right now. Everything else is under contract or closed. $649,975. This one just went pending on Smoketown Road. Interestingly, knowing that area, Smoketown Road's a pretty busy road. Cavalier, not as busy, but also a through street, kind of connecting Old Bridge and Smoketown. So a lot of people are cutting through. But Smoketown is connecting Prince William County Parkway, and that is in Minnieville, right? Like, so Smoketown is a pretty busy main thoroughfare road. Let me get rid of some of these pop-ups real quick. So as we go through 649, that may have impacted price, is where it is, property placement. We have a home here on Chancellor, 690 active under contract. And it's the exact same above grade square footage. That means it's the same footprint house. So the layout, the design, if I were to scroll through these photos.
So what was kind of the average of the AVMs? Remember what those prices were? 640, 650, 630. That's the same house. At what price? Do you think this is going to be valuable information? You think they're going to be excited? I would think so. Now, condition still plays into it, and I make that point. But now I know, and I knew this before I recorded it because I looked at the comps, I'm going to be giving them good news. Because if they've all checked their pricing on any of these other third-party platforms, I'm about to swing their value 50, 60 grand. That's huge, right? That's the whole point of this. So I wanted to make sure that we made note of that as we're kind of going through. As I'm going through this, any questions so far? Pretty straightforward, right? Nothing that I don't think anyone in this room couldn't do. Right? Maybe you got to fine-tune your CMA mechanics a little bit, but nothing crazy, right? Like, it's not over the top. I have these resources. I have the browsers. I just put them together, and I'm taking and I'm going through that information very quickly. I would probably not drill in as much on those individual AVM websites. I'd probably show Zillow, Redfin, and then maybe a spreadsheet showing the values of the other ones. I'm like, yeah, and if you want to check them, you can go to these websites, but here's the 5 or 6 that I pulled. That's going to save you, 2 or 3 minutes in your video, just that. I just wanted to show you each one as more information so that you could see all of it, as opposed to me making some assumptions and condensing that presentation. All right, so let's finish through this.
This is the same floor plan as your home. It's also very similar in square footage, and it's sold in 2 days. Wow, that's great. That's higher than all of those AVMs that we saw. This is great news. So I'm excited to see that. 590, very different style. That's Mulberry Court. That's a whole nother small little subdivision within Lake Ridge. So this is probably not a great comp, but it is similar in square footage. We've got another one here, 625. Doesn't look like we may have a base. Nope, it does have a basement, but it looks like it's unfinished. So that's probably impacting the price. It's also on Smoketown. We got Troika, closed at 686. It was listed at 650. That's great news, all right? But it's a smaller footprint. More justification for maybe a slightly higher price there. Troika is not on a main road, though, so that may have helped the pricing a little bit. We've got Valleywood Drive here, 649. It was listed at 639. It sold above. However, they gave a huge concession. You see that? It's a little tiny number, 24,500. That means it sold for 649, but they took out 24,000 and gave it back to the buyer. So that's a little bit of an interesting number there. Not sure what the scoop is there. We can dig deeper in it, but this happened back in March. Also, a fully finished basement. So we're seeing some disparity here. We got Wainscote. This is at 672. They gave a 5,000 credit, sold in 6 days back in March. It's a slightly smaller footprint than yours. We talked on Wainscote. Then we've got Tally Ho. Now this is interesting. 775 back in February. Now it sold in 9 days, but it was listed at 800. So they took a $25,000 hit. It's 4 2.5 bathrooms. It does have a full basement. It is a little bit bigger of a footprint. It's on a cul-de-sac. So there's some interesting things here. They've got some upgrades you can read into it. I looked through the photos. Not anything massive here, but that's definitely an anomaly to look at. It's got one less full bath. It's right within a standard deviation that really isn't important here on the above grade square footage. But at the end of the day here, this is really, really interesting. I'd love to kind of look more into this and compare it against your property when we get out there next week. Because 775, that's a no.
So I'm already planting seeds within here. Like, we're using assumptive close techniques as I'm discussing it. Like, I'm excited because when I get out to see your property, we'll be able to start making some comparisons here to find out what the true value is, right? So I'm already getting them on board with the idea of me coming out and visiting the house. Good.
Worthy benchmark. And we got 710, different footprint home. It's not your traditional colonial here. Looks like it's a split level, but it did close at 710 back in February. What's interesting on these timelines with February, rates were a little bit better back in February, right? They were bad at the beginning of the year. They started to get better, and they've kind of been poor lately. The interest rates might have played a part in why we're back in that high 600 range, and we quite haven't broken into the 700 here in the May-June timeline. We'll see here we had one close at 607. Has a fully finished basement over on Parliament. Might have some condition issues. And then we've got one that closed 540 back in February as well. A lot smaller and no basement. That makes a huge difference. No basement at all. Can't even finish it. So those are our comps. Very quickly, just because I'm a stats person, I'll show you this. If you take all of those listings, all 12 of them, that gives us an average of 651, a median price of 649, a high of 799, and a minimum of 554. If I were to have to list this home sight unseen today, and you put you said, hey, give me a price, I'd probably feel pretty comfortable in the range of 675 to 700. Condition might push that a little bit higher depending on what all you've done. I know you finished the basement,
pause.
But those.
What did I not give them? An exact price. You give them an exact price, you've either qualified or disqualified yourself, right? If it's a number that makes them happy, they might have another conversation. If it's a number that makes them unhappy, it's not. We're trying to get an appointment. Right? So ranges are okay, right? Because they're going to assume something. If I went through the whole thing and I don't get anything from them, what was the point of me watching it? So I got to give them a little bit there, but I'm not trying to give them the whole thing. I'm trying to get in front of them. That's what we're trying to do. All right?
Those are my thoughts. I look forward to meeting you guys in person. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. It's a little bit longer than normal, but hopefully you found value in it. Look forward to meeting you guys in person very, very soon. Have a great day.
All right.
Hello there, Mr. and Mrs. Buffetti. My name is Richard Bridges.
We're
with
doing it
Samson
again.
Properties. And as we've been kind of discussing.
All right. So, thoughts, questions. What are we thinking? You can see a way that you could leverage this in your business, right? It's a very, very powerful tool. Very powerful tool. So, kind of in wrap up here, and then I want to show you a couple things really quick that you can add to it to spice it up just a little bit here from a visual standpoint. Try to avoid giving the specific price, right? I mentioned to you guys that earlier. It's always best to give a range because you don't know condition. If you don't know condition, you don't want to hang your hat on something when you don't have all the information. You really want to use this video as a call to action to get into the house. Get in front of them, go to the house, give them a more fine-tuned estimate. If it's even a past client, you can still offer to come by. Like, hey, if you made some improvements to it, I'd be happy to come by your house, take a look at it, give you my thoughts. If you need vendor referrals or anything to get some work done, or if you're like, hey, I'm debating whether to finish my deck, like add a deck to the house or finish my basement, what do you think? Like, let me come out, let me look at what you got, blah, 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 blah. We can talk about it. Maybe I send my contractor over, give me some bids, and then I can give you my thoughts from a valuation standpoint, right? Always trying to add value, always trying to elevate that relationship. Also, I do recommend confirming receipt of the video, right? So whether you send it to them as a text message, you send it to them as an email, I do definitely say, within 12, 24 hours, just say, hey, just want to make sure sent you over something specific to you on your home, sharing a little bit more about what I think your value is on your property, some information on how things have been moving, because I know a lot of negative information has been out there on the housing market because of interest rates, but you might be surprised at where your home value really is. So take a look at that. Let me know your thoughts. I'd love to follow up with you at a time when it's convenient for you, right? So those are good things to go ahead and to approve. Also, this video that I did, the best way to distribute that information, because if you try to send a 7-minute long video file that's an MP4, it's massive. You're certainly not texting it to them. And emailing them, they're going to be like, I got to download this file. The easiest thing for you to do is go into YouTube. If you don't have a YouTube account, it's real easy to set up a YouTube account. We could help you out. It's very, very easy. It's free. And you would want to upload that video as unlisted, right? So only someone with that link can see the video. It's not going to show up online for everybody to see. All right, so an unlisted video, that's an important piece there. And then prior to calling with a follow-up, if I send the video, cool thing about YouTube is I can go in and see how many people have what? Watched it, right? How many views? If I send it to them and I haven't watched it because I did it, and I get on there and there's 7 views, what can I extrapolate from that? They were pumped. They watched it. They said all their friends watched it, their kids watched it, their dog watched it. They're pumped, right? They're excited about it. That's going to change strategically how I'm going to follow up with them, right? Make sense? So you can get a little bit of insight there by using a YouTube link. If you guys use BombBomb, which is a paid-for service, that will notify you as soon as they watch it. And you can go even further and see how much of it they watched. So again, depending on your budget, how much of it you want to use, it can be, you can do it a number of different ways. And then a great tip, we were kind of touching on this the other day that Dave gave actually, is it could be really valuable to take those comps that you went over, and if you wanted to print them off in some pretty presentation and drop off a physical copy, that's a great follow-up. Great pop-by, great follow-up, opportunity just to see them really quick. You could go a step further and be like, hey, I saw you watched it online, really appreciate it, want to buy you a cup of coffee. Here's a $5 Starbucks card and a hard copy of you to review, mark up, and if you have questions, you can let me know, because sometimes watching it digitally is different than being able to take my time and look through something concrete, right? So that can be helpful, and I think it's a great, great follow-up. All right, guys, so that's kind of the process. I want to take a minute here. Do you have any questions on this? I'm going to show you just 2 or 3 more pro tips, and then we can start winding down. Questions? Yes.
When you use a hard copy to drop off, do you want to give them a full customer list? Do you want a gallery? I mean, what's the best? You want to give them as much information that would be helpful, but not overwhelming.
Yeah, I wouldn't think of it as a full listing presentation, like everything that you would typically go through, because that's what you're working for. I would say a summary view, some of the details that you provided on here, maybe just cleaned up, easier to recognize. For me, when I've done it in the past and dropped it off, I've even taken, and if I'm using the actual Bright MLS print-offs, I'll highlight the key information. If you're not a real estate agent, is it easy to read those sheets? Probably not. If you are a real estate agent, it's also not easy to read those sheets, right? So it's tough either way. I'll go through, I'll highlight days on market. I'll even write a little handwritten note on there. This is crazy, no basement, whatever, right? Whatever you want to draw attention to, that is that's a great way to go about it. But I would probably summarize. I would try to think summary, because then if you want to expand on that, that's your listing opportunity. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and just to follow up on that, the idea is that, you know, if somebody gives you something, there's a good chance it's going to set on your kitchen table or your dining room table, or it's going to set in the kitchen for a long time, where, you know, it's going to be physical. So if something happens 2 weeks down the road, you're like, oh, let me find Richard's number. He sent me that, versus trying to go back in and how many emails do you have today with all of this stuff on. So that's the idea of the follow-up.
All right, so couple last few things. We have another question? Yes,
One
go
more
ahead.
question. So if you don't have a potential client's email, do you have a resource to look up emails?
So Ben Verified can be a good one. Remine sometimes will have email information on it. That's why I really like that resource. There's like whitepages.com. I think there's a little cost for that. You know, a lot of times when people are lead gen, I've seen people take and do a quick video on this saying, hey, I actually saw somebody recently ask a client that they sent this video CMA to for a quick 10, 15 second like video testimonial, like on their phone. Hey, it was super valuable. He went through all this information very quickly. I really enjoyed it. You know, if you guys can get it, I would highly encourage you to get it from Richard. It's a great resource. And they'll run an ad with that. And then in that ad, if somebody wants to sign up, it's just a name and an email, and that's a way you can collect and do it as well. You know, for me, the absolute minimum you should be doing with this are those anniversary CMAs. Because it's like, you know, you send a, you know, hey, thank you, or send flowers or a small gift or something like that. The best thing you can do is send them a reminder that what they invested in is paying off, right? And if they bought anywhere in the last 10 years, their investment has not gone down. So odds are you're sending these reminders that their investment was worthwhile. But finding the emails, scraping the emails, there is stuff out there. There's a source called skip tracing. There's a few skip tracing sites out there where you can pay some money and skip trace if you have a phone number or a name, an address, because you have the address. So those are some resources that you can do. Did I answer your question? Perfect. All right, I want to just share one or two things really quick. We're going to do a duplicate these keep changes. All right. So one thing that I think can be really, really helpful. So this is what Smart Charts looks like, guys. If you're wanting to know the absorption ratio, when I came in, I just did 22192 and search. This months of supply is the absorption ratio. So their absorption ratio for their home is 0.4. That means on average, it takes 0.4 months to sell a home. Pretty fast. It's not even one. It doesn't even take 1 month. So in their specific zip code, and in this instance, Lake Ridge is pretty much the entire zip code of 22192. You can see it, and then everything pegged over here in the left means there's nothing. There's no houses on the market, there's no inventory. All things that if you wanted to reference this or specifically come down and show them these numbers, you can get even further into the weeds or the details if you like these numbers a bit more. You can also get into all of the technical legal subdivisions for 22192. So Smart Charts is a great resource. Additionally, you have forewarn in here. If you guys haven't used it, if you're NVAR, you can go to the NVAR website and download this. It is a phenomenal app. So like just to show you really quickly, let me send myself, let's see, send text, I'll put in my code, 246, continue. And so if I wanted to show like my email, or my number, so I put in my number 4571 480-1323. Don't share this with anyone. That's a joke. You guys can laugh at all my jokes. It's great. We click search. this is what that information looks like. So you can see me. You can see even like people that I have like some sort of relationship with. This is my wife. So I can click on me, and then it has all kinds of information in here, right? I like vehicle records, property records, court records, possible criminal infractions. Look at these. Wow, he's an untrustworthy individual. Look at all the speeding tickets. So this is a great resource for you, again, to verify and make sure that the person you're meeting with or that you're looking in their information is legitimate. When you come into your YouTube, if you've created a channel, so let's just go back to YouTube in general. You log in. If you have a Google account, you have a YouTube account. So for me, when I came in, it already pops up. So if I'm on the landing page here, I'm logged in. What I can do is I can click on my profile. I can go right here to my channel. And then I can upload a video. That simple. So if I downloaded the video right on my computer desktop from whatever the screen recorder was, Zoom, whatever, I can upload it there, follow the prompts, and just make sure you list it as unlisted. So that's how I'd upload it. And so just so you can see my library, that actual video that I sent. Where is the library? Oh, my videos, sorry. If I go to my videos. Here's the example CMA that I did, and I can see how many views I've had. This is where all that information is. Cool? And then last but not least, this is, again, the most powerful thing I think you can use, a very simple spreadsheet. You can list AVM, the value, what the resource was, the AVM. I put in each of those prices. I did the average AVM, 637, 373. We did our comps. What are we thinking? I said 675 to 700, probably for conservative price, maybe more if the condition. Then I do this. Our price, value of your realtor. Oh, we want to do some quick math? You could go a step further. You hire me and you pay me a 6% commission. Let's see, so 700,000, I sell your home for that, times 0.06, $42,000. You would make $20,000 hiring me, even paying me $42,000. Feel like the investment's worth it. You feel like if you had that equipment with you when you went in and had a listing presentation, or you demonstrated this online, that your client would feel a little bit better about paying 6%? I think so. Again, demonstrating value. All right, was this helpful? Cool. Oh, thank you. Thanks, everybody. Great. Oh, Dave, you're not getting lunch. Just kidding. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. I really do hope you guys use this in your business. Don't be afraid of video. If you saw there, the video wasn't about me. I was there just so they can see and associate voice, face. It's a lot harder to ignore a person than it is a text message or a random email. When you humanize it, it makes it a little bit easier for you to close for those appointments. So I do encourage you to try to show yourself and be confident. Demonstrate your skills, guys, your value. You have a ton of value to provide to our clients. So this is good stuff. I hope you guys use it. If you have questions, let me know. Thank you guys at home for watching through, and that's all I got for you. All right.